Hey, we're going live. So you guys can all fall asleep and watch us later. No, I was kidding. Azalee. Watch out. So, if it gets too warm in here, you guys notice it, you can go ahead and someone just turn it off. I'm not going to monitor it. Sarah, I'm not talking to you. You're okay. Sarah's like, "Oh, don't make me the responsible one, please."
I can do it, but don't make me the responsible one either.
No. Yeah, Tom McKinnon's dad behind you. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Double trouble.
See, when you're sitting next to each other, I'm not implying anything. Viola. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll start in a second. Oh, look who it is, Hannah. Hi. Yeah, we're not going to have a contest to see who drove the furthest to get here tonight. Yeah, I just need everyone to know that my students drive an average of half hour to come to lessons. So if you drive less than that, thank your lucky stars. Sarah's like, yep. Okay, let's see here. Should I do a random YouTube thing just so you can see if we're connected? Oh, I could connect to my studio class.
Get your first paycheck. Realize it won't cover your rent.
Did you all hear that? I hope you have your notes ready. No, okay. So welcome everyone to our studio class. It's so great to be with all of you. So so there are several of you that are new enough that you've never been to a studio class. I was mentioning it to someone like, oh, I don't even know what a studio class is. And I actually used to do them more than I did master classes. So oftentimes we do master classes where we go down to the chapel. And did you find anyone there?
Yes.
Yes. I knew some people might go there. Who do you find? Yes, great. Yeah. I'm sorry. I got here at like 15 till and I didn't put up signs until then. But we usually have guest artists come in, we get different perspectives, which is really nice because when you hear things only from me, sometimes it can feel a little bit, well, it's only from him. Sorry, if I stare at you, don't worry, I'm not like talking to you directly. I just like making eye contact with people. Woo. So make sure we got that in the picture. And so it's always very, very valuable, but I don't like just constantly doing that. If I find a topic that I find it really important for our studio to go over, then we do a studio class. And the one that I've done the most, which Marcy and maybe Sahara could attest to, but Sahara's with me on and off, so it's mainly just Marcy, is I like to do an improvisation studio class. When we go over that, actually, about every 2 or 3 years, I do those, and they're always really great. And usually I have enough new students to where most everyone is new, works out exceptionally well. So something to look forward to. I'll probably do something like that, probably maybe next year or so. But today I found a topic that has just been going on for a very long time that I want to go over. And I'm not going to, now everyone's like, it's just going to be a lecture. Well, I guess, but I will ask questions. I mean, I'm a very outgoing person, so you'll see me running around a lot, especially when I have to go get the instruments, and I will literally run. And there'll be a lot of involvement, a lot of listening. I have some people who are out of town, so I can't expect you to sit here and take copious notes on things. But if you like to, go ahead. You can take out your phone and take notes. That is fine. Otherwise, please don't be on your phones. Okay, that'd be great. So if you want to take notes, it'll be nice. Oftentimes, I send out my presentation afterwards because the whole presentation is outlined on these 3 pages. So it's already there, ready to go. So without further ado, who has heard this before? And tell me what it is. And I'm sorry, there'll be commercials.
In just the last 7 days,
Everyone's like,
8,368
"Oh, I totally
men have
know
clicked the
what
link
that
on one of our
is.
ads that
Absolutely.
you've probably seen.
Okay. Let's get it before. Here we go. What is it? Yeah, Beethoven's Fifth. I like Beethoven's Fifth first movement. Yes. It is perhaps one of the most famous, it's definitely the most famous orchestra music of all time. What's your initial reactions when you hear that? Say it again. Okay, then that's fine. Anyone, just you can talk out loud. Yes.
Suspenseful.
Yeah, suspenseful. Sorry, Solomon. I apologize. You get me on the front row. If I go like this, what does that make you feel like? Yes. I'm angry.
Yeah.
Yes. Sounds like I'm
Intense.
very angry.
Yeah.
Very
Isn't it
intense.
supposed to represent fate knocking on the door?
Okay. Yes. So a lot of people know that opening motive. It is called a motive. It's not a theme. This is what's crazy about Beethoven. Everyone knows Mozart. You ever heard of him? Okay. When I was younger, I called him Mozart. Yep. I just thought the Z was really nice saying that Zart. Mozart, not as easy for us to relate to because he was taking lessons from his dad, who was a really good teacher at age 2. Okay, age 2, his dad wasn't going easy. His dad was like, if Mozart and his sister could read, he would teach them. By age three, Mozart was improvising on the piano in fugues. Okay, now if you put that all together, by the time he is 12, he has had as much musical experience as Isaac Perlman. Okay, so someone like that who has just music is flowing through him, he would never correct anything when on the manuscript. That is absolutely true. His manuscripts are flawless. He would just not edit anything. Anyone composed before? Okay. Do you make mistakes sometimes, Emma?
Definitely.
Okay. Do you use an eraser?
It's digital, so.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you make mistakes, you got to use an eraser. Well, the funny thing is that you look at his manuscripts and Mozart's, and there's nothing. Now, Beethoven, on the other hand, his manuscripts, they did not have erasers back then, and you see scribbles after scribbles after scribbles. And he labored constantly to write his music. It's over and over and over again. Does that sound more like what we do when we work through things? When we are on a project or trying to learn something, even when you're learning violin and viola, it's a process. And it was for Beethoven. He scribbled out. He always didn't think he was very good at tunes. And so in this one, he didn't even write a tune. He wrote 4 notes. Dun, 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 which is called a motive. It's so short that we can't even call it a tune. And yet, it is. That's the actual first theme he wrote. So everyone knows about that one. Okay, but then it shows up later on. It shows up in the third movement. That the third movement, first of all, is kind of creepy. Don't worry. It's not like Halloween creepy. got to remember when he's writing this, Mozart was alive. Well, actually, yeah, maybe he had just died. This suspense and mystery thing was not very common for him. And all of a sudden, you hear da 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 da. Very labor drum. And it goes back to that. So it's like, okay, well, why is Beethoven throwing this fate motive into everything? He's like, is he just obsessive compulsive? Maybe. Who knows? Okay. It was, someone wrote that he was emotionally very excitable. So after all that, he does his fourth movement.
Folks, this is U.S. Senator John Ossoff in Georgia. Now, hear me out. I am the only.
You notice I didn't hear him out? This is the last movement. This is totally different. Right? How did we get from that angry to this? Okay. Now, just show of hands, who has heard that first movement? Dun, 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 dun. Is that 100%? Okay, I think so. Autumn, had you heard that before? Oh, that counts. Okay, I think so. It's fine. Who had heard the last movement? Okay, all right. So the last movement actually is still pretty well known. Now, some of you might know the story behind this, but there is so much to this symphony, and I wanted to start with this. And I know it's not violin, specifically violin and viola music, but there are violins and violas in it. Okay, trust me, there are violins, violas. I played it, conducted it, and in order for us to understand this, so at this point in Beethoven's life, he had to go to the country because he was having a very, very difficult time with something. And he wrote a very famous letter, and if you haven't had a chance to read it, you should read it. It's quite something. It gives you insight into him. Beethoven, in my opinion, is the most relatable composer there is, which is why I'm starting with him tonight. He wrote this letter to his brothers, and he was going through a rough time. And Beethoven is so relatable that he would write, dear Carl, and then blank. He wouldn't even write his other brother's name because that was the name of his father. And Beethoven's father was a drunk. His mother was a drunk. And they both died before he was 18. And he actually, at the age of 18, signed over control of his family. So from the age of 18, he was the dad. And he was so mad at his dad that when he wrote his brother letters, he just didn't even write the name Johann. So really relatable. He had a lot of emotions like we did. So this is what he said in this letter. He's on a retreat in the middle of Austria in this small little town. So he's writing his brothers. He says, all you men who think or say that I am malevolent, stubborn, or misanthropic, don't worry about what that word means. How greatly do you wrong me? You do not know the secret cause which makes me seem that way to you. From childhood on, my heart and soul have been full of the tender feeling of goodwill, and I was ever inclined to accomplish great things. But think not, for 6 years now, I have been hopelessly afflicted, finally compelled to face the prospect of a lasting malady, whose cure may take years or perhaps be impossible. And then there's a great article on this, and they're writing, you have to remember during that time when Beethoven was younger, he was competing with a lot of people. And you can't, I can relate to this very well. When I was a professor, I couldn't tell people about my Lyme disease because I was also afraid of the same thing. They started making excuses for me. And I'd say, oh, he missed a note. Oh, that's his Lyme disease. Very real. And I have to be careful who I talk about it to, because I have to make sure that people see me as a professional. And so this is very real. Gabe, come and sit down. If you stand there for a long time, trust me, you'll get tired. It's from connecting directly emotionally to when we are playing. So I'm going to go over these problems right now, all right? I'm going to go pretty fast. and it's your brain might be spinning by the time I am done. Okay, but just trust me. As you go through these, you might know some of them. Some of this might be new. But the main thing is, as I go through things with you, I'll introduce more of these things to you, so it will not be overwhelming. I promise you. I just don't want some of you to think, how does this apply to me? I haven't actually heard it yet. Well, you will. I think it's time. Are you guys hot now? Anyone? Or are you good? Is it just me? I run warm. You guys good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're getting there. Getting close. If I faint, though, I think it's time to turn it off. Don't anyone else faint either. Okay. That wasn't an implication. All right. Let's see here. Oops, wrong instrument. All right. I'm going to be doing a lot of role.
Right one.
Okay, you guys see on my sheet, it actually says violin and then it says viola. It switches back and forth. Don't worry, the violas will get their moment. All right, I'm going to be doing a lot of role playing, and this is where I'm going to get a little silly. It's okay, and hopefully you will laugh. If you don't, I don't care. If you don't look at me strange, I also don't care. You'll get it. Oh, wow, this piece looks really boring. It's like a 3 on D. And by the way, I will use very poor technique. And then it just goes and plays a lot of G's. When does it stop? Holy cow. It's like 14 G's. This is the boringest piece of all time. And I almost want to say, gosh. I'm sorry. That definitely dates me. Anyone know Napoleon Dynamite? Yes, okay. Well, it might help if you actually listen to the piece. And this is actually what it's supposed to sound like. Oh, doing commercials. One of the most vicious pieces ever written for a string orchestra. Actually, what is this? Yeah, Vivaldi's Summer Third Movement. She just played it. Yes. By the way, this recording is awesome to watch. What's going on here? The storm. Yes. Yes, I agree. I agree, Kenton. That's actually really funny when you're trying to play the piece and you see a whole bunch of G's, and then you actually listen to it and realize, oh, wow, this piece is maybe the coolest piece I've ever heard in my life. So I think it's kind of important to listen to the piece before you make a judgment. Would you all agree? Yes. And listening, I cannot understate. We don't just listen the first time, we keep listening. All right, you keep listening. There's so much that we can miss than when we're not doing that. Okay. One thing I did not pull out. Be a volunteer. Volunteer. Don't worry, you won't be doing anything weird. Anyone? Fernando, coming up. Get my volunteer. There's a reason. By the way, that's not volunteering. Fernando, can you come on? Okay. Now, Fernando's going to laugh because I'm going to show him a piece of music and he'll see what I want. He's.
You have to play this?
Do you want to tell him what it is?
Yes, it's Tchaikovsky Concerto Violin.
So Fernando one day walked into his lesson and started playing the theme from the first movement. And
did?
You don't remember this?
No.
That
Sounds like something I would do.
Yeah, he's like da yum ba da 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 da. This is considered the top 3 hardest concertos of all time. And he started playing it, and my reaction was this: "What are you doing, Fernando?" He's like, "Oh, I just really like it." It's like, okay, you can enjoy that first melody. Please don't do anything more.
No,
Yeah,
it's just the first few notes. That's it.
No, Fernando, I didn't bring you up just to pick on you for that. Okay. While we were working on this in the lesson, all right. That's why I said
It's a lot
this
of
is
dots.
funny. Yeah, it is a lot of dots. Yeah, upside down even. It's a lot of dots. All right, now where we're going on this section right here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, or let's say right here. And I'm like, can you write this down in your music? Can you tell me what measure that is?
Not right now.
Yeah, you can. Come on. Which line? Sixth line. Which measure?
Second.
Second measure. Okay, great. Oh, what page? One.
Third.
Oh, great. Wow. And now go write it all down. Okay, you
Okay.
go sit down. Sorry, I'm not gonna have you raise your hands, okay? But this has happened way too often in my when lessons when people don't write in measure numbers. By the way, there's nothing here to tell you any measure numbers. That's why I picked this. And it's really long. The first movement's 20 minutes long, and it's like 12 pages long. So if you have to write down 6th page, 4th line, 3rd measure, you're first of all waste time in lessons. But if you are in a rehearsal with anyone, you will know if you're on the same page. You waste a lot of time. Trust me, I've been through that a lot myself. So do we need measure numbers in our pieces? Yes. Okay. We need measure numbers. Tchaikovsky will not be played. But the music was fun to look at. Okay. This piece is really slow. It's got slow notes from the beginning. Why does this feel like Twinkle? What's the deal with those 5 notes? Oh, jeez, this is so boring. Like, why are slow pieces all full of half notes? I'm going to play it now the way I want to play it, so it sounds really nice. So you all now enjoy it. I mean, thank you. I'm like, where's the clapping? Yeah. See, everyone's like, that was the best, right? What's the tempo marking of that piece? It's the Adagio Religioso. What's it from? It's from an opera. And in the opera, it's in between 2 scenes, and it's about a priest who is trying to convert this person from their hedonistic ways, their pagan ways, and help them see the ways of the spiritual life. And he is speaking to her at the very, very beginning. When you hear the word sacred, what do you think? Anyone? What do you think when you hear the word sacred?
Purity.
Purity. Anything else?
Christ.
Okay. Yeah. I think we are humbled, are we not? Does it change it to know that we're supposed to be playing sacred from the beginning? Pure, which is a great way to say it. Might as well just say it that way. Sanctity actually means purity. Yeah. And it should sound like this. It keeps going. Do you feel I pulled you in? Do you feel how quiet it is? Hey, meditation from Thais is by far the least understood piece in the entire violin repertoire. It's also one of the most played. In fact, I played it more than anything in my life. I played it from memory once for a colleague, and they're like, "Whoa, good for you for memorizing it." I was like, "Well, when you played it 260 times, it kind of happens when you do that." I know what I did was over the top. Okay, before that. But if you go online and you listen to recordings, most recordings will actually sound like that. In fact, my violin teacher, when I first started, she despised the piece. She's like the nicest lady I've ever met. I didn't know she didn't like anything. And she just didn't like the piece at all. That was syrupy nonsense. And I played it for some sort of fundraiser thing. And I didn't know she's there. She came up afterwards and she was in tears. She goes, "I just want you to know I've never liked that piece. But now it's one of my favorite pieces I've ever heard. It's not because I played it, everyone. It's because I knew the story. I knew the background. It's, in my opinion, the biggest jump what you have when you actually learn the background of a piece. And it's really moving in order to play it. I know lots of you played in here and heard that story, but this is why that first thing I did at the beginning, nothing really is as substantial for you investing in your music more than the background of a piece, knowing the background. Okay, all right. Time, and I'm sorry. By the way, I meant to say this before. I'm playing pieces that you all have. Some of you have played. I am not trying to pick on you in any way, shape, or form. Please know that, because there's good these pieces, several like you have played. Maybe you've played all of them. You're like, oh my gosh, he's talking to me. Nope, that is not true. Okay. So you're listening to the songs, or I send you some songs. You're like, this sounds really nice.
Tomato sauce, basil, cheese.
That sounds really nice. I'll be honest, I'm hungry.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like getting Bateman. You need
You need Batman. Okay. Wow, this piece is beautiful. By the way, this is my favorite violinist of all time, David Roystruck. The best interpreter you've ever heard. And your soul is so moved. You're like, oh, I'm totally learning the space. You set it down and you grab the sheet music and you're like, oh, this is going to be great. Let's see. It's nice and slow. I didn't hear really any hard parts except that one part. The last were like 4 measures. It's okay. This should be a breeze. I can learn this in 3 days. Print out the sheet music, put it in front. Who wrote all those flats? Holy cow! Why are there 5 flats in this piece?
5?
Okay, let's go on to the next piece later. Yeah. All right. Don't judge a piece until you played it. By the way, if I ever have you guys play a piece, I know you can play it. But Serenade Melancholique, which actually quite a few of you have played in here, humbles every single person that plays it because you're shifting a lot up on the G string and so forth. But the flats are really difficult. You have to be able to hear everything that is being played. And what seems like a simple piece, all of a sudden you're like, what? But if you play it through, you know what you're up against. You do. You know the flats are there. You know you're going to have to actually get better with your flats. You actually we talk about it. And then it's real. There's nothing like getting a piece and being shocked by the piece because you didn't realize how difficult it was. Well, again, this is why I help you guys pick out pieces. I have had some people pick out pieces. One of them is the most popular one, by the way, is if you want to look it up, is Introduction to Rondo Capriccioso of Sasson. And anyone that listens to this piece, it's so cool. That's the introduction. The introduction is really nice. And then the main thing comes in, and you're addicted. And you're like, oh, yes. It's due to my Italian and Spanish side that don't exist coming to me. And every single person that's ever heard that song comes up to me and I really want to learn Introduction Rondo Capriccioso. And every single one, except for Sahara's played it, has actually been way too early. They're going to play it. So does it help? Do you need to look at the music? Do you need to play it? Yeah. Because it's important for all of us to feel comfortable when we're doing the piece. Hey, all right, it's Viola time.
Yes. What was that violinist's name? David what?
Oistrakh. Oistrakh.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Okay. I picked this piece. I love it. It's going to be so great. That's okay. I'm still getting the melody. 15 minutes later. Why was that so tiring? Oh, goodness. That's okay. I sincerely hope, by the way, and if you haven't heard, if you say, I hope, I think so, maybe, they all mean no, okay? They don't exist in the violin. I sure hope I learned something. So I hope I actually got some of those notes. The fact of the matter is, you maybe learned a few, but most of them you didn't get any. All right, this is the Hungarian dance number 5 of Brahms. It's very well known. I imagine most of you have heard it. The viola transcription that Emily has played. Have you played it, Emma?
No.
One day. Yes. Emily, tell me, how easy is this piece? Not bad. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's because Emily's a very good violist. She's like, when you actually play this piece to start with, it always gets everyone. They don't understand exactly how it can be. It does this later on. It's like. And then for some reason, the arrangers started to do this. So if you go too fast, you're dead. So we always, everyone, when it comes to muscle memory, you must start at a place where you can get it. Your muscles do not learn by hitting something and ignoring the rest. They learn by knowing it from the very beginning. So in order for that to happen, we have to pick a tempo that makes sense for when we're starting a piece. How do we do that? How do we pick You say which one is both. First, you got to find a tempo you like, okay, for the piece. But then you got to take into account how difficult is it and what's the most difficult part. And then you find a starting tempo that is good, it's comfortable, but not too slow, right? If you go too slow, you won't like it. So here's your out of control point. You start about here, okay, on your starting practice tempo. Then you learn it right from the beginning, and the piece is already yours. Why? Why do I say that? If you start with the right tempo, and by the way, you will make corrections. Okay, that's not saying you're gonna play it perfectly. Why is the piece already yours if you start at the right tempo?
Because then you're not practicing and teaching mistakes that you then have to fix later.
Look, your muscles are smart. If you show them the wrong thing and you go on, they will remember that too. Yep. By the way, how how calm and peaceful and totally comfortable was I when I was playing that, Hannah? Oh, is that a no? I was not. Yeah, I was kind of tight. I was kind of all over the place, and I can tell you this. What'd you say?
Kinda.
Kind of. Oh no. I was. You can tell I'm red in the face already, but I was like. I mean, I don't drink coffee, but if I did, that would be the equivalent of 7 cups. Okay, and your muscles do not remember things unless they are relaxed. If you're tight, if you're in a state of I got to be hurried. By the way, I have a student here. They'll know what I'm talking about. It was like 2 or 3 years into me being their teacher when they told me lately, I was like, do you sometimes rush when you practice, like rush through your practicing or feel like you're in a hurry? I'm like, yeah. I go, that explains a lot. Because I noticed that what they're playing was very random. There were certain things that were there, certain things that weren't. They didn't realize that they actually were doing this. By the way, we store most of our stress in our shoulders. That's fact. And if you raise your shoulders in your violin, true or false, is this good? False. Yes. It actually can destroy pretty much everything, especially right arm. Your shoulder goes up, and wow, it's so uncomfortable. If it goes up over here, tendonitis, all sorts of not good things. But if you go up over here, it will affect the rest of your hand, your arms. I always tell people there is one speed when we practice, and that is muscle memory. Because muscle memory has one speed. That's how it learns. By the way, does muscle memory get used to things? Yeah, absolutely. So we also then need to pick the goal tempo, which I already mentioned. The goal tempo, then from that point, this is something that I mentioned to people. It's very good, important for us to remember. When you have a starting practice tempo and a goal tempo, what does that give you?
Something to work for.
Very good. It gives you a plan immediately. You now have something to work for, the plan, you know where you're going to be done. And then how far do we go up each time that we layer? I'm not going to talk about layering today. How far do we go up? How far do we move up a metronome? Sorry, that's what I meant.
It's like 6.
Yeah, 6 to 9 notches, a medium amount. Yeah, so we moved up medium amounts, not too little, not too much. And then we actually get to our goal tempo very nicely. Do you mind shutting that off for me? That would be great. I appreciate it. I do not want to faint. Okay, it's a major problem. You start with the wrong tempo. You actually spend the next 6 weeks literally just spinning your wheels. Yes. Okay. One more thing with goal tempo, and this really gets people. When picking a goal tempo, a lot of people think that there's this, I don't know, imaginary thing that's out there. I'll give you an example. So anyone know this piece? Okay. Now, what everyone knows, they hear that, and then they hear the next part. They're like, so cool. And so they think when, say, a professional like myself plays it at that speed, that's the speed they're supposed to play it. Who here has ever thought when they learned a piece, oh, I need to learn it fast? Everyone has had that feeling. Andrea is perfect, I guess. Sorry, Andrea. Yeah, you thought it too. Yeah. Here's the thing. A goal tempo needs to fit you. There is no such thing as you've got to get up to a certain speed. You have to get up to the speed you can play. And let's be fair, comparing yourself to a recording, which is usually going to be a professional, is enormously unfair. Okay, there isn't a single person in this room, and that's counting my most advanced student who's in this room, that actually is playing near the speed of some of these people when they play them. So you have to take that with a huge grain of salt, and I mean that. Their speed might be here, you can play it here and still have a great experience doing it. So goal tempos need to feel good. You need to fit inside of them when you're doing it. And there is no imaginary gremlin that is pulling you along.
Simon, come play the piece faster. Please, come on.
I know you've all felt it. You're like, oh, I must play it faster. I'm not playing it right. That is a myth. It's a total myth. And if you allow yourself to go there, you'll never be satisfied. That's called looking beyond the mark, looking past what you can actually do. Don't do it. Okay. I can play this one on either instrument. That's why I was just going back and forth. Oh, okay. Wow, I sure love that movie music. Who here likes movie music? Yeah, me too. I love it. I'm going to go online to I want to print onlinecheapmusic.com, and I'm going to print off my favorite tune from Star Wars. Cool. Okay. Let's play it. That doesn't sound like it. I want my money back. And then you spend the next 2 hours on the phone trying to get your money back. Don't do it. At Boeing's. So I'm sorry, I'm going to play a lot better now. Where would life be without slurs? Everyone goes, I'd be happier. Boeings are so important. Who here actually believes that Boeings are optional? Sorry, that was a rhetorical question. Yes, they're not. But I have to tell you, a good 75% of no, that's too much. 50% of my students that come in actually do Boeings when they feel like it. They really think that Boeings actually don't really matter too much. Without the Boeings, that the Force theme from Star Wars is not the Force theme. Without Boeings, every single piece that is lyrical and slow becomes a heavy mess. Boeings matter. So, and I have to tell you this, your primitive sheet music will be missing a lot of them. A lot of them. So you have to actually put them in yourself. Sometimes you have to remind yourself of this. We go to 8:15, everyone. Just remember that. If you didn't see it on there, it's 7 to 8:15. Do not please leave. It's 7:58 right now. That's why I took us 8:15. I'm tired of people leaving right at 8. I'm like, oh, I've got to go watch my movie. I just play movie music for you. Aren't you satisfied? Really? Okay. My teacher said this is one of the greatest pieces ever written for the viola. It's like a romance, and I can play the whole theme in first position. Oh, that's ugly. I don't get it. I don't get it. Yep. I'm gonna put my viola away and go play Go play me some Fortnite. Oh yeah. By the way, I've never played Fortnite. Okay, so don't ask. Or you actually can put in fingerings. That will make it into the most beautiful piece. That was one of the most beautiful pieces ever written for the viola. Totally different. I know I played with vibrato. Okay, come on. But if it's going to be tender, you can't play everything on the A string. By the way, the A string on the viola is super whiny. It's like the rest of the instrument is like, yes, you need to get an A string. Now, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Isn't the violin E string the same thing?
Yes.
Yes, violin. It's way worse, Katie. You're absolutely right. So, fingerings matter. I was actually going to do the beginning of Bruch's second movement because that one's also really easy to tell on it too. But look, in romantic pieces, where you are on the string very much matters. So fingerings are important. We need fingerings. And again, most your pieces will not have those fingerings in them. Or you may not know what is the best. They might have fingerings that work for the person who edited it, which is not you. I don't know why I needed my teachers to tell me this, but I was playing this sonata by Beethoven, and and like the entire second movement was in second position. Raise your hand if you like second position. I knew we get one person. Good. Okay. Raise your hand if you don't like second position. Okay. And I learned it perfectly. I got into my lesson and I played this like the best I could. So it was super weird. And Igor Grutman stares at me and he goes, "You do know that those are his fingerings, right? They're not yours." He said, "You don't have to do them." And I'm sitting there going, "I mean, I just wasted like 7 hours working on all those fingerings." But you know what's funny? Did he need to tell me that? I mean, no. But actually, you do need to be told that. These additions you get, everyone's like, well, they're making my life easier. Not always. They actually can make your life harder, and they can be doing really weird stuff. Just ask Emmy. I just went over this Mozart cadenza, and there was just so much weird stuff in it today. I didn't realize it was in the text. Just didn't make any sense. If we hadn't gone through and put in the right markings, the right bowings, right fingerings, it wouldn't have made sense. So fingerings matter. Fingerings matter. Get a T-shirt that says that, Sarah, please. She did. She actually has a T-shirt of something I said. Oh, I should ask you to wear it today. Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to. This is not about me. Okay. Much easier if I just put the viola here. This slow section is just really nice. That's so nice. And then well, that was a little much. Wow. Well, you need to get that out of your system, I guess. Ollie, there's a big long word above there. Oh, I don't do big words. By the way, don't ever learn German if you don't want to see big words. They like to just combine everything. It's not uncommon to see a 35-letter word in German. Anyway, whatever. I played it. My teacher will be happy. Here's your little shoulder angel. Look up what largamente means. Your little the one on the other side. You don't need those foreign words. You speak English. Oh, hey, Google Translate actually is a good thing nowadays. It translates very well. It's come a long ways in 10, 15 years. It is so easy. Get the darn app, put it on your phone to look up what it says. What does largamente mean? Anyone?
Broad.
Broad. Yeah, it means big. Make it broad, make it majestic. So does it change it? Oh, golly, I actually have some really, really fun stories from when I was teaching of students that forgot to translate the actual words in the piece and the way they played it. And I couldn't think of any of them. It drove me crazy. I mean, just great ones. Not to make fun of anyone, it's just to show you how much of a difference it really makes. You got to translate the words. What does pesante mean?
I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, well, that's one that a lot of people skip. Pesante means heavy, heavy. And I actually had a student one time who didn't see that, and they were playing it legato and really nice and pretty. And I said, "Do you know what that means?" I can't remember who this was. Okay, so it's not of you. And they're like, "No, I have no idea." And we looked it up on Google Translate, and they're like heavy. Completely changed the piece. Again, if you don't, I said adagio religioso, and now you guys can't see. If you saw the word, you would have thought it was religious. You would have seen it was religious. Okay, I told you. If you do not translate the words, you will not know what they mean. And I have to tell you this: music dictionaries do not work. They give you the watered down version of what it actually means. Anyone know what allegro means? Say it louder.
Cheerful.
Thank you. Sahara, I don't know how you would know that. It actually means lively. Okay, lively and cheerful. Does not mean fast. Lively is like the seventh definition down, by the way. Cheerful, lively does not mean fast. There are 7 words for slow movements, and only one of them actually means slow. Translate the words. The composer is trying to tell you something. They're speaking from the grave. Is that a little much? Sorry. It freak you out, Autumn? I'm just kidding. Autumn
true,
doesn't.
though.
Autumn doesn't get freaked out. All right, time to play my Bach piece, my unaccompanied Bach piece. Gosh, it's got a lot of double stops. And with double stops, sorry, I feel like doing a Donald Trump impersonation, and I almost was. I promise I will not do that. I need to play it really loud, and in order to get it, let's see here. Oh yeah, well, all the other movements are like dance movements, so maybe I should play it really fast too. That would be really cool. Okay. Why did that sound like I threw up? I don't understand. That just didn't sound right at all. This piece is a very angry dance. What's the name of that piece? Golly, I've had so many people in here play this and they're not telling me.
It's the saraband.
It's a saraband. Thank you. All right. Now I want to do a double duty in this one. What is a saraband? Anyone?
Dance.
It's a dance from where?
Spain.
Spain. Yes. More importantly, it's a slow, stately dance that has a lot of passion to it. In fact, it was outlawed during the medieval times. Okay, it evolved since then. So Bach actually used it in order to express sadness, deep sadness. Oh, isn't knowing it's slow kind of important? gotta know what the piece, by the way, the title is also part of the background. Don't take that for granted. Now, was that appropriate to play it loud at the beginning? Mm-mm. No, this is grave sadness. Bach wrote this after his first wife died. And if you don't go through and put dynamics in, you will never know, because Bach never wrote dynamics in those. Every one of your pieces, your dynamics are always half done. Do you know that? Even all the romantic pieces, the composer goes, here, piano. Do one crescendo here. Later on, let's put another piano. Well, okay, I crescendoed, but why does it go back to piano? I don't understand. So going through and making sense of the dynamics, that's called a dynamics map. All right. It's number one that everyone skips when it comes to setup, because they don't understand it. All you're doing is going through and making the dynamics make sense. It actually takes about 10 minutes for a 3 to 4 page piece. Pretty fast. Doesn't take long at all. If you go through and you actually, if there's a forte and there's no crescendo before it, you need a crescendo. You do not go like this. La, 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 la. That's just not how music works most of the time. Who agrees with me? Okay, thank you. I'm glad you do. Okay, it's a problem though. If you try to play the dynamics that are written in there, you will get lost. There needs to be put in there. And thankfully, not many, there's not a lot you have to do. Okay, now, all of these issues, everyone, every single one of them can be fixed before you start. Before you start what? Before you start actually playing and learning the piece. They can. Now, I learned this from experience. I learned this from my own pain and suffering. I'm serious. Every single one of these are things I learned. And every single time my students have had issues when they're playing a piece, it's because they have skipped fixing one of these problems. Either that's during your warm-up. But when playing a piece, if there's something missing, it's because one of these problems was not fixed. Now, I have to tell you, that's a lot, right? I mean, there's a lot of things there. And some of my students actually, when it comes to, I call this step the setup step. Now, there are several of you in here that have not actually introduced this to you yet. Well, because layering is more important to learn first, and then we get on to setup. The setup steps are tenfold. You actually do 10 of them. It can seem like a lot. If you go on your 5-step process learning piece sheet, that they're all on there. And everything I just did right now is telling you the problems that these resolve. The one thing though that everyone doesn't, so the reason that we have them is, reason why we do these things is to eliminate the distractions. So you can connect directly to the music and it works. Not only does it work, it saves you a ton of time. For the reason someone over here said that you're not actually repeating mistakes, you're not indecisive, you haven't decided on a fingering, you haven't decided on a dynamic. Does that make sense? Everyone, I know this, the very first time I actually implemented this, it took me a third of the time to learn the piece. That is not a joke. 2/3 less amount of time to learn it. So I do really understand, everyone, the fact that this can be a lot. So here are a couple tips. I actually just lately came up with these because I've seen it with some people. I had one student who's like, I'm not doing setup. Boy, we had like 3 long conversations about it, and I could be very blunt with him. And thankfully, that was Spencer. Okay, and that's okay. He finally he understood, but he just thought it was a lot. So none of them would take too long, everyone. The bowings and fingerings is the only thing that take a long time. Every single one of the other things take less than 10 minutes. Most of them take 2. So it doesn't take as long as you think. If you feel like it's too much in one day, just do several on one day, then play and start layering. I don't mind. You can actually split this up. This is new. I'm telling you this now. You can actually do a few and then play, a few and then play. That way you don't get overwhelmed with this. All right. And then if you actually just want to do the ones you think are essential at the beginning, but then each time you practice, you fill in one, and by 2 weeks in, you get them done, that's also fine. I don't want you guys to feel like you just don't get to play. The setup is to save you time. Now, when I set up, I actually just do it right in one sitting because then I'm going to be honest, my time is limited. So if I do it one sitting, I go through. There's a blueprint. That's what this is. A setup is a blueprint, and immediately I know what to do, and my fingers know what to do. I show them exact spot what to do every time, and I learn the piece super fast. Every single one of you in here has already seen the effects of layering and how much it helps and how effective it is, how made your playing. Setup is designed to cut your time down in layering even more. So don't skip setup steps because you don't feel like you have time. You don't feel like they're important. Just take it as you feel like you need to take it. And if you need to just do a few and then you can move on, that's fine. But I guarantee you, if you skip setup steps, they will come back and haunt you. And I do not know the name of the ghost. They will. And you're like, what's going on? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's feeling right. It's a setup step. You can literally get your interpretation from the very beginning. In concerts, how many times do you hear a piece? That's actually on purpose. They want you to get it then. So from the very beginning, you can make these decisions. You actually just have to make the decision. Does that make sense, everyone? Sometimes you're like, I don't know what to do. Put something down. Put something down, and it'll work. Now, I want you all, this is my instruction to all of you, okay? I want you to find what works best for you when it comes to setup. And I want you to commit to finishing all the steps in the first 1 to 2 weeks when you're practicing each piece. Oh, you're about to commit. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Ooh, aye, mateys. Now it's time to get on our ship and board because I guarantee all of you, and I promise you, that if you do those setup steps, your setup will take you from playing a piece to soaring. Just like Beethoven got us soaring with his victory over his deafness. You will soar like that. You'll feel that every time when you play your pieces. Thank you. Yay! Well, take such great attention. Just one announcement. Next week, we still have lessons. The week after that is our studio spring break. It's March 30th to April 4th. If you come that week, you will be sitting in your car and waiting for a very long time. Maybe you need to nap and you need to get away, but don't come inside. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank
See
you.
you later. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you. Thanks for saying thank you. Solomon.